So, we head down to Atlantic City for the weekend with some friends of ours who are vacationing with the family. We're here on business though. We're playing the Summer Open Tournament Series, looking for a big score. However, that's tomorrow, so we have one full day to rest and relax. Instead, you see us run to the poker table after we check our bags at the Hard Rock Hotel. We head back to the place where the dream started for us. The first poker room I started getting good in. We would deliver food all weekend just to make enough money to drive down here and put all of our money on the poker table. And I do mean all of it. Every decision was important, every hand was a lesson learned, and it stuck with me. We're glad those days are over, but we are very grateful that they existed. So, when we pick up Pocket Kings as a welcome back, we know we're in the right place. The problem is, we call under the gun to try to set the trap and play sneaky, and this time, it just doesn't quite work out for us. We do still take down a small pot. The next hand we pick up is the 9-10 in middle position. It has great playability post-flop, so we limp in, prepared to call a raise, but again, it doesn't get opened as we're going 4 ways in a family pot, and we flop top pair. Never go broke in a limp pot, so I check a monster and the big blind takes a stab at it for $7 to play, and we call, going 2 ways to a turn card. We also know that most likely we're going to be ahead with our 10, and we know the opponent doesn't have an ace unless it's specifically 7-ace or 8-ace. So, when the turn card comes out an ace of hearts, this is a much better card for us than the blind. When he bets the flop, it usually means he connected with the board in a small way that's most likely going to be a pair or sometimes a draw. So, we put the scare card to work and bet for value when it comes, and that's enough to get it done for another modest pot. Here on this next hand, we pick up the old Queen 8 offsuit. And as you've probably noticed thus far, I haven't been in the business of picking up premium hands, but I do still want to get into the action. And honestly, if the dealer dealt me a bus pass and a library card, I would still probably play, because the opponents are all playing straightforward poker. So when I pick up the Queen 8 offsuit, that's good enough for an open to 5 times the big blind. And in smaller games, 3 times and 5 times the big blind is the same number. And if you can make the pot juicy, it's going to be worth fighting for. I suspect they're getting tired of me because I get 4 callers along for the ride, each very much so looking to beat me out of this pot, and with good opportunity because we are well at the bottom of our opening range. But when the flop comes out, 5, deuce, deuce, that should be no help to anyone, unless they have the one combo of pocket 5s. I always like to take control on boards like this, and not only am I the pre-flop aggressor, but I also could play aggressively until I find the deuce or take down the pot. So we bet for 30, hoping to go uncontested. It's frustrating for the other players who all probably have hands that are worth calling. But on a board like this, you can't be certain if you turn top pair or make a flush that your hand is even any good. So my plan seems to be working. That's up until I find a sticky non-believer. I do get a caller, and I'm guessing he has 2 overs or a hand like 6s or 7s, which I might be able to bluff off or beat. I'm not worried, but I am studying my opponent because I've always been strong with my reads, so depending on the opponent's reaction to the turn, I'll know what to do. But we actually end up turning a gin card as the dealer peels off the 8, and that's because we beat those pairs that could have been ahead on the flop, and we avoid pairing our queen, which could lead to kicker problems on the river. So, when I hit the best card in the deck for our holding, I have to bet big, and I have to protect that. Now, should I face any aggression on this street, I could play this as a bluff catcher with 2 flush draws on board. But in a game like this, I'm probably going to insta-muck, because is he good enough to pop me to 3x with ace-king of hearts? I don't think so. Luckily, we make a good read, a good bet, and my opponent makes what should be a good laydown. And as a result, we scoop in a good pot. Things so far are going pretty well, and I am winning with a lot of my junk hands, so if I do get a rush of cards, player beware. Conversations are all going on around me, so I'm engaging with the players, getting info on their play styles, but also just chopping it up about poker drama. I somehow find myself multi-way with 5-7 offsuit, most likely due to a lack of focus. But here we are, so we got to make the most of it. So I am pleased to see a bunch of limps behind me so that we could see a cheap flop. But I tell people all the time, the most expensive thing in poker is a free card. So when the flop comes out, it's one that can get us in trouble because we're feeling gamble. We're leading this flop, and to make matters worse, I'm fully prepared to shove if anyone thinks now's a good time to take a stand and check raise me. No flush draws on board, I'm up and down, and I have a draw to the nuts. We don't even thin the herd slightly, as we have everyone in this pot multi-way. I do have an ideal holding for this spot, as we're probably the only ones who can improve dramatically on the turn. I could be up against a bunch of backdraw nutted calls, but most likely I'm the only player that can make the nuts on the turn. And that's extra relevant here, because we do make the nuts on the turn. So let's bet small enough to keep players intrigued on this non-monotone board. We lead out for 25 and give the players the opportunity to make a mistake. And our opponent check raises us and does exactly that.
Oh, I pray to God that we're chopping and you don't have any backdoor opportunities.
You'll just look at him fall. Let's go. I'll play with anyone. No one can really get it.
Yeah, you can hold him back if you like.
What do you got, straight?
Yep. A boat would be good.
No, I don't have a boat. Let me look here. 4, 5, 6. I'm missing the 7.
It's over here.
Use this one.
I had 2 pairs.
Fair, 8,
You flopped it straight. No, you didn't.
No,
You
I
put it
turned on
the
here.
turn.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought for sure we were chopping that up.
No, I didn't. I didn't think you had the straight.
good. All good.
So I gotta go eat now.
All right, Paul.
See you later. You soon, Paul.
We remain patient as we allow our opponent to realize defeat and head to dinner. Overall, I've been running outstanding, and I'm riding a bit of a winner's high. I feel like I can't lose a pot, and I guess that's partially because I can't. Every single hand I've played this session I've won, and that's not even an exaggeration. We have not lost a hand. That could lead to overconfidence, which I could identify by the fact that my hand selection is not really getting much better. There's a term called riding the wave, and there's a term called playing stupidly. Here, we're on the thin line in between. So, we pick up the 9-8 offsuit. Well, they're connected at least. We limp in and we make the call, allowing others into the pot. Button raises behind us, and, well, you know we're making the call. And again, it looks like I'm going to be guided by the flop as we make top pair. We lead in, and with not much resistance, we take down another pot. We're up about a buy-in, and I haven't even been dealt an ace yet. We do get dealt the next best thing, which is king-queen suited. Well, at least in my book. We open for 20 because we want to build a sizable pot, and at this point, the table's facing a raise by a guy who doesn't lose pots, so they all think better of it and fold. Well, all but one. And we want to be heads up with this type of hand anyway. We are out of position, but we have a hand that plays great post-flop. So the dealer brings in the chips, and when you're running good, you just kind of know. And the reverse is true when you're running bad. So, with the cards helping me, we're in a good situation when the flop comes out, queen high, and we're almost certainly ahead. And with the way things are going, we are certainly ahead. And with our flush draw, we can almost bet with impunity. So, when we bet 50 and we get a call, we fully invite our player to the turn card, which pairs the board. Now, we do have to navigate this properly. Top pair is vulnerable, especially on a board that pairs the middle card. And if we blank our flush, we are left with just a one pair hand on the river. In Hold'em, top pair seldomly wins big pots. So I decide to check it over and turn our hand into somewhat of a bluff catcher. If my opponent decides to take over the aggression, we'll certainly be calling, but we're also okay with getting to the river cheaply. So we double hand finger tap check it over to my opponent. Now, from his perspective, there could be a ton of hands that miss. Flush draws, 8-10, 6-8. Theoretically, this would be a good time for him to put in, say, a pot-sized bet, but he thinks about it, and in this case, he thinks better of it. He must see that I wore my bucket hat, so I'm ready to go fishing. Ultimately, he doesn't want the smoke. He checks it back. A check back is great because we take down the pot and the rich get richer. And for all the penny pinchers out there, he had a flush draw, so I didn't miss any value on the river by checking. Now, we're up about $600 and we have about $1,100 in our stack. This is where the session hits a fork in the road. I get invited by my friends to come to a steakhouse for dinner. At the same time, the main game opens up and I get called to move tables. I should probably just rack up, grab dinner, and come back, but instead I decide that I'm having fun and I'd rather play. The very first hand of the main table, I flop a set of 9s, I get it all in against the flush draw, and he drills a flush on the river, taking half my stack and all my profit from the session. I wasn't even fully moved to the table yet, my camera wasn't even recording. Not even a breath of fresh air. I came, I saw, but they conquered. So, we are back to just over starting stack. I feel upstuck, so when the next hand I pick up is ace-king suited, we have a chance to get it all back. We bump it up to 16 pre, and we get 4 callers. When the dealer puts out the flop, we should say aye, because it's all in favor of me. Top pair, top kicker, nut flush draw, so when my opponent bets, it's my chance to turn up the heat and start building this pot. I raise small to keep him in and increase my stack to pot ratio. But something strange happens as this hand begins to develop, and alarm bells start ringing. My opponent, who was a nit the whole time on the last table, just 3-bet raises us out of position on a board that I have absolutely dominated. This wouldn't be the time he's making a move, and because I have so much of this board locked up, I'm very concerned he just flopped the set. The player in between us thinks about it, seems to have an agonizing decision, but ultimately, he decides to make the fold. Now, there is an argument to be made to just jam this flop and see 2 cards turn in river to realize my equity, but if I'm up against the set, I really only have my flush outs. So, we do elect to just make the call, but not as a player who's ahead anymore, as a player who needs to get lucky, and we do know that. This is not such a great play because we find ourselves in a world of trouble on any turn card that we don't complete our flush, which unfortunately is a majority of the time. Now, I hear GTO voices whispering in my ear, what if you're up against ace queen? Well, then we just got beat on the turn, and our opponent jams.
All in. All in.
How much was that?
Now, counted.
That was 150, 175? 175? More?
Players all in, 207. All in, 207. Yo, 3 hands in
You
a
wouldn't
row.
believe
Double down?
what I'm thinking about.
21.
You wouldn't believe it.
Double downs.
Your money so fast it would be in the pot.
She
So
hit
fast. I know you had me beat.
Fucking 21.
I have an immensely big
I had
hands.
a
Up and down
three
straight
split.
draw.
I had-
Ace king of hearts.
And that's
You
what
know
I
I had
said.
ace king of hearts?
You can't talk shit anymore.
No, you didn't know that. You didn't know that.
You had a set.
I'm saying, when you can't talk shit anymore.
Well, obviously,
So
I told you what I have. I
my
have ace king of hearts.
And I got 8s. You were showing me some.
Your fate might be in my hands right now.
Split 8s. I'm like, yo, split 8s. 8. I'm like, all right, split 8 again. 2.
The only thing I'm concerned about is the set. If you
Split
show me
again.
any
I'm like,
2
all right,
cards
good.
that's not a set, I will call you.
I have a $50 fucking hand off
Here's the money right here.
ritual. I am fucking splitting 50.
You show me any 2 cards that's not no. You show me any 2 cards that's not a set, I'll call you.
Fuck this. Show him 6. Fuck that. 3 on the next hand. I'm like, all right, fuck.
Up to you.
I am
You should be
getting the
immensely ahead right now. Jack 7, Ace 7. Those are all good hands to
I go
have.
through all of that.
Mm.
Dealer shows literally
Yeah,
6.
yeah.
fucking
You waited here for
7.
7
I'm like,
hours to
all
jam
right,
on me with
I
7
fucking-
deuce.
I am looking for.
You show me any
fucking
2 cards that's not a set, I call.
2.
You show me, you don't do anything, I fold.
4.
I fold.
No, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm furious. I'm furious that I made great reads, but I missed turn cards. I'm furious that I didn't make a bad call, because usually I love seeing expensive rivers. But most importantly, I am furious that that guy could throw those cards so perfectly across that table. Jeez, that's old man swag. Save some for the rest of us, pal. I think I would have just met my new hero, if he didn't just take all my money. Now we have beef. The only thing that can make this sequence of events go any worse is if I suddenly and mysteriously begin to go card dead. So now, just to take inventory, we're tired, we're not running well. We're not picking up cards. We're below starting stack. This would be a great time to leave. So anyway, the next hand we pick up is the King 10 off. I haven't seen 2 Broadways since I left New York, so that's the top of my range. I open the pot, and in perfect poetic tragedy, we get bumped up by a 3-bet. Now, I'm tilted, but I'm not stupid. The bottom of that 3-bet range is Ace King, which we wouldn't be doing well against. We have to make another frustrating fold, and you can tell by how I throw in my cards. This next hand is amusing because my arch nemesis from the Ace King hand decided he wants to move closer to me. I suspect it's to come in closer for the kill. He's cold-blooded. So, when I pick up the King Jack off, I feel like just that, the King Jack off. And I want to play. My hand selection has actually gotten better, but my results have gotten tremendously worse. Irony? Nope. That's poker, folks. I bet to 16 pre-flop, which is my opening standard. I always recommend you keep this consistent unless you are acutely aware of your image and your opponent's representation of your image, and you know how to manipulate their play with different style size bets. But now's no time to worry about advanced techniques. Now we have to try to make hands that are better than our opponent's hands, but yet they still call. In fact, if you can master that, you can master this game with no problem. One way to do that is to juice up the pots out of position with marginal hands, and to go to the flop multi-way with a bunch of people that only can assume that you suck at poker. At least, that's what the book I read on the way here said. The title was Bust Before the Money, and it was a Charlie Pistone story, if you want to check it out. When we see the flop, we know this is not a board to continue our aggression, and you know it's gotten bad when you start pleading with the deck. Please, all I need is a 10 that's not a diamond. That card is like throwing a Hail Mary with your second string quarterback and winning the game with no time left on the clock. Now, up until this point, all the players have only seen me giving my chips away at the table, so subconsciously, that's all they know. Now the tide turns. We're sitting with the Nutter Butters disguised. So when a Baba Gadoosh leads into me for 75, we only have one option. Jam the peanuts we have left, get called, and scoop in a potentially session-saving pot, which is fortunately exactly what happens. My friend on the right is just as happy I scooped in that pot. The way he sees it, it's more for him. In all seriousness, he was a really super nice guy, and he had a really cool poker aura. He's been doing it for a while, and I could tell. So now we're sitting on about a $350 stack, and things start to look up a bit as we pick up the ace queen off. We are still down 150, but this could be the change in tide. So when middle position opens and a player calls in between us, we 6x the original raise. Now, remember what I said before about how in smaller games, it really doesn't matter what you raise because people want to see flops? That holds true here as we manage to draft 5 players to the flop like we're an NBA roster. I know I keep making cheesy sports references, but when you're at the bottom of the 9th and you just need to win, I'm just kidding, I'm done. Reality is, when you're in these type of situations, there's just no substitute for having a big hand. You can't have a true edge, you just have to make hands that call. So, if you whiff the flop in a big multi-way pot, chances are you're not going to be able to outplay 4 other players. Low stakes games fester multi-way pots. So, when the flop comes out, you're looking to be very nutted because your opponents are going to be all over that board. So we connect, but we do not connect in a way that's good for us, as middle pair on a board like this is just going to be a sucker's hand. Surprisingly, all the players start to check around. Now, don't fall for this. This is 3 players who have nothing and 1 person who flopped Broadway waiting for someone to get out of line. Plus, with spades, straight draws, ace highs with combo draws, you're getting called on this flop 100% of the time. And what's a good card for us? Actually think about it. We're probably not ahead, so we have to catch up. The ace of spades, not a good card for us. A jack or a 9 has us drawing dead on the turn. Any spade, we're probably drawing dead on the turn. We would be looking for a lonely queen, and God forbid somebody's trapping with the queen 10 or the queen king. So really, we have no way to win this pot at showdown, and you're not going to be able to bluff 4 people off. I'm not a fortune teller, but something tells me if I pursue this pot, I'm going to lose a fortune. So when we face a $75 bet and it folds around to me, even the one hand I was beating on the flop, which was ace 10, completes trips on the river. He does put me in the tank, but my read on this play pairs with the live tells of strength I'm picking up, and it pushes me to what I believe is the right play. Signs of a desperate poker player is playing suited jack gappers in middling position. Yes, they can make big hands, but suited cards are only 4% better than their non-suited counterparts. So don't play jack 8 suited if you're not going to play the jack off. But we're being a jack off, so we're happy to get tangled in the mix. And you can't lose every single hand in poker, right? It's impossible. So a little bit of bad play mixed with a little bit of dealer guidance lands us on the flop with 2 pairs. Dangerous flop, yup. Multi-way, yup. 2 pairs, yup. We're not going to get crazy. We do want to see a clean turn card before we commit ourselves, so we do make a trap call, which invites one other player to come along with us for the ride, heading 3 ways to a turn card. I know I'm ahead right now, unless someone's doing some next level wizardry. I don't know what I'm up against. I know I want to fade a 9, a 7, a queen, a king, and an ace immediately. Well, we have half the deck working against us, but we're fine. We're not fine. The ace peels, and that's not only a bad card, but that's a bad card that also gives us the backdoor flush draw, meaning that we can't relinquish our hand. If this was any of the safe cards, I would put in a big check raise, but now we have to play defensively to make sure that we realize our equity. Because I'm not certain if I'm ahead at this point, so I want to improve. But you want to know what the opposite of improving is? Missing a jack, an 8, or a heart, and hitting the one card besides an ace that counterfeits you, but in a way that allows overpairs to now become winners. You just won.
Wow. That's gross.
Good.
Could happen.
Man, you're gonna be the big one.
That was a shitty way to play kings, I feel like, bro.
Right now, we're getting our candy asses kicked up and down Jabroni Drive. There's a momentum in poker. Even the laws of physics state it's harder to get an object moving than it is to keep it in motion. So, when you're tracking your feet through the mud and you feel beat, it's hard to get yourself going. It's better to quit in poker. In fact, the most useful tool any poker player has is the quit. Every session will end on one, so you may as well get good at it. You should be better at quitting than you are at playing poker. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time to plant a tree is right now. But yet, we still envy thy neighbor's fruits. And when we pick up a suited ace, we want to take a bite out of their garden. We make a raise and we get multi-way action, and we get to a flop that looks sweeter than the Garden of Eden. This is a very different situation. Having the nut flush draw and top pair means that you're only an underdog to a set and a flop straight, and slightly at that. So we know that no matter what's out there, we're at least 35% likely to beat 4 other players by the river, which is huge equity. So when we see aggression, we're ready to giddy up. If this was 10 years ago, I would just get it all in right here, zero thought. But I'm a lot better at playing post flop now. And turn and river streets are where the most money is won and lost in poker, so we're well within our comfort zone. And when the player behind me calls, he makes the pot odds unbeatable to draw moving forward. Plus, he's been splashing away. Now, make no mistake, we know that the player in the middle is sitting on a monster. At minimum, that's going to be 7-8. We also know that the player on the black shirt is on a draw, because if he had a real hand, he can't afford to let another scary card come out. So I'm inclined to believe he's looking for a scary card himself. Last time I checked, a deuce on the turn never changed anything. My opponent agrees and leads for 110. Alright, Miss Achinger, you told me that I have a better chance of spontaneously combusting than passing your math class, but let's take a crack at it. 110 into 267 is 377. Assuming the call, it would be 487. And if the opponent behind us calls, it's another 110 to win 597. It's hard to flop a straight in poker, so assume a 9 and an ace is still good for us. We have 9 flush outs, we have 3 9 outs, and we have 3 ace outs. That's 15 outs. There's 44 cards left, 15 win, 29 lose. We're about 35% to win by the river, or roughly 2 to 1. We're getting a minimum of 5 to 1 on the call. If you want to win at poker, you make that call. Now listen, it's true. I might not have passed my 8th grade math class, but you know what else is true? Yeah. I also miss spades on rivers, and I still call when I know I'm beat. I guess you're good. I have 2 pairs.
5, 8, 5, 6, straight to the 9.
Credit to my opponent, well played, but you could see my frustration. I hit the worst card in the deck for me, and I know that. Remember, 7-8 was the bottom of his range, and I knew that. but also deep down I knew that I could only win with a spade. So the ace looks like a good card, but I knew it wasn't. I also know that I only needed to be right 1 out of 7 times to be profitable on this call, but I know that that's a bunch of bullshit, because when you know you're beat, the best play is to fold your hand. It doesn't seem like a terrible call, but it was, because I'm past the point of having to see it to believe it, and I knew I was beat. I also probably, subconsciously, wanted the pain to end, so this was a proper punt. And I get felted.